Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 85. I am your host, Dan, joined by my bestest pal, Anthony, and we are proudly the hosts of probably the only show on the internet that is not afraid to piss anybody off or hurt any feelings, or at least
Just the best
gaming
in
news
general.
show. Indeed. Um, just like every week, we'll go over what we've been playing and then get into the news proper. So, with that being said, Anthony, what have you been playing this week?
I still have my rotation of everything. I've been playing a little bit of, a little less, I should say, of the gotcha game stuff. Notably, two of the ones that I enjoy playing, Girls Frontline 2 and Blue Archive, they recently got a bunch of updates over the course of a month, and I haven't touched them yet. So I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing next week is trying out the new content. I hear things have gotten pretty brutal on the monetization front because,
Well, it's a gotcha game.
well, yeah, but like. I think I mentioned, like, whenever I started this kick, I'm just like, oh, a lot of this seems really reasonable. And obviously, they're going to still try and nickel and dime you in different areas. But apparently, and I don't know, I haven't done research into this just because I don't know myself whether I believe this, that, or the other thing, but Girls Frontline 2 recently added a new kind of hub feature for you to hang out with the characters in the off time, and they described it as a very taxing thing to develop. And ever since that update has come out, they've been doing some ridiculous gotcha within gotcha, pay a shit ton of money kind of deals. And I'll probably have more to say about that next week if I do end up going and, finding the time to really feel out that new update. But yeah, so it's been a little light on the gotcha, but I've been playing a decent amount of fighting games, one of which I'm sure you will have something to say about. I also, with the Steam sale, I finally picked up a handful of ones, so instead of, needing to, take to the seas and re-download different patches every other patch, I now have a few more in my stable. I'm sure I'll have more to say on that next week too. But playing wise, it's just been more of the same. I have been, it may not sound like I've been playing a lot, but there is a handful of things that I have played in the background that I'm not ready to talk about because it's going to be a whole thing. That'll probably be one of the earliest episodes of the new year that I'll finally end up talking about that. But other than that, it's been business as usual. I'm just thinking, did I forget anything? No, I don't think so. It was a question of myself. So, Dan, what have you been playing?
Well, I've had my staples, Battlefield, a little bit of Dark Tide, not so much this week though. Ton of Arc Raiders, ton of the finals. I find myself playing the finals solo in the new game mode Point Break because it's basically just Rush from Battlefield, but the destruction is 100 times better. So yeah, I've been putting a decent amount of time into that. I picked up Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the 2017 or the 2016, the newer one, yesterday, and just kind of futzing around with that. It was like $4. It was 90% off, so I'm like, whatever. I haven't jumped into any multiplayer yet, but I've been playing a little bit of the single player. I will say the game is surprisingly well optimized. My laptop runs it well above 60 frames at 1440p, and I don't really notice any performance hitches. So I was pleasantly surprised with that, and it's got HDR, and so the game is just beautiful.
My understanding is with Battlefront, and obviously we have played it in the past before, Game Pass and different things when it was on console when the first one was new and whatnot. My understanding is that while bland in a lot of ways and while the gameplay isn't exactly what people were expecting, optimization was not an issue it had, as far as I'm aware. As like the production value in the Battlefront games, the newer ones, is I haven't had a single issue. I think it's because it's back then when they still had a great deal of talent. They were still, it runs on in-house engine, right? It runs on Frostbite. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Frostbite.
Okay, yeah. So it's leftovers from a different time for the companies involved.
Yeah. So I mean, all the old Battlefield devs who worked on Battlefront 2 and 1.
Exactly.
So it's a competent game. You can't not say that about it. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I downloaded and started playing the new Splitgate Arena Reloaded, because Splitgate 2 was like so shitty that they took it out of like the 1.0 launch and they put it back into basically pre-alpha. They redid a bunch of the systems. It's fine. I don't think it's really gonna I'm not going to sink a bunch of hours into it, but I mean, it's well enough for what it's trying to do. I really don't have a negative thing to say about it, so that's good. But there's so many other games on my plate that like, it's so hard to just keep up with one niche game. So
yeah. Good enough doesn't necessarily cut it.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been playing a little bit of that, but I don't know if I'm gonna keep it on my hard drive because there's just too much other shit that I want to get to. I have been playing Arc Raiders like pretty much every chance that I get. Yeah, I'm hooked on that game. And I haven't even unlocked like the majority of the legendary and exotic weapons, so I still have plenty to do. And they keep on adding events, and they're also, let me just say, with Embark, they are being very fair. I would say they gave everybody like a free $10 in Raider tokens recently, so you could just buy the majority of like the majority of things are $10 or lower, and you have the option now to basically pick one thing for free and champion it, which I think is pretty cool. So, but the last thing that I started playing this week today, actually, and I'm sure you are over the moon for this.
On my face already.
Our buddy Harrison bought me both Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6, and I downloaded 4, and we've been playing for like the last hour and a half, 2 hours or something.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm getting the hang of Cammy most of all. I play a little bit of Ryu, but I like Cammy because of the movement kicks. I think those are a good mobility tool. But yeah, so it's the first time I played a fighter in like years, genuinely.
Yeah.
So it is a long-awaited return for you, because I mean, when we first started gaming, when we first started hanging out together, we primarily played fighters, all of like the old school Dragon Ball Z games and Soul Calibers.
Yeah, it's like way back in the day. I played a lot of fighters, like not as much as more than what people expect because of how I talk about them. But when I was a kid, I was playing a lot of fighters. I played the 2D stuff primarily with Harrison, and with you I played a lot of the 3D stuff, like the Soul Calibur games. Dragon Ball Z Budokai was a big one. That one was what everybody was playing, and it's been a long time for us to just sit down and play for a bit. And obviously, dynamics have kind of changed. I've been playing consistently, you haven't as much. I think this is the first time you've really given fighters a shot since 2020, 2021 ish.
When did Dragon Ball Fighters when was that a thing?
Around then. Like it wasn't like you didn't buy it at launch. You bought it when like season 2 was underway. So it might have been a little late. It might have been 2022, maybe. It's hard to keep track of.
It was no, because 2020 was COVID. So 2020, like I didn't play any fighters after that. It was definitely around like early 2020, I would say, whenever Dragon Ball Fighters came out, because that's what, like, when Fighters came out, it was like the classic 2D fighting style, and I love that for Dragon Ball Z. So I was interested, and that's why I picked it up.
And I will say,
I got at it.
No, I was about to say, like, if you go to the channel, there's a sub variant of fighting game videos. I have Fighting Fridays, obviously, which is what I do with Harrison, and what I did with Steve. And underneath that, there's something called Fighting Fridays Training Room, which is like whenever we had anybody on who wasn't necessarily as familiar with fighting games, that's where I would put those videos. And watching you play, you can see yourself steadily get better at it, and like you ask questions, and when you get the answer, you apply it almost immediately. And honestly, as the guy who edited and watched those videos, seeing you pick up Street Fighter 4, which is a bit more complex, it's a bit more rigid, it's an older game, the buffer's a little different, but it's good for fundamentals. You retained a lot of the knowledge. I can
really
see. Yes, like nice. Just like you're
Street Fighter 4 came out in 2014. Wow.
No. Ultra Street Fighter 4 came out around 2014, a little later. Vanilla Street Fighter 4, the base of this game, like Ultra Street Fighter 4 is the last version of Street Fighter 4. Before that was Arcade Edition version 2011, then before that was Arcade Edition, then before that was Super, before that was Vanilla. 2008 is when Street Fighter 4 first launched. So the bones of that game.
Oh, that's why it looks the way that it does.
Yes. So what I was and what I was explaining to Harrison, or like when me and Harrison were talking about what you guys were playing, is, and this actually coincides with what you asked me. You're just like, oh, is this a remaster or a remake of an older game? The reason it feels that way is it was the last time arcade styled games of that nature were really made. Anime fighters are a little different. Anime fighters have their own kind of branch, and they kind of still feel that way if you go and you buy like a good anime fighter like Melty Blood or something like that. Not to go off track here, but Street Fighter 4, the reason that me and him recommended it is because you can feel out a lot of things, but even going from a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ backwards to Street Fighter 4, you retain, like, movement kind of feels the same. You understand how to walk back and forth. You understand inputs like half circles and quarter circles. You didn't really struggle with that at all. When you played Dragon Ball FighterZ for the first time, you weren't sure how to do that. And you learned it once, and you retained it, which is kind of what I was saying when we were playing. But, you know, I didn't mean to hijack the mic, but that's basically, you know, what I was getting at was with the fighter stuff. So, you know, it's you know, it was nice to see you pick up and learn stuff because you're a competent person. I don't have to like hammer things home. So. Yeah. It's always so nice because of all the people that have ever like tried to like get into fighting games, you're the only one who asks questions.
Well, why wouldn't I? I'm not just gonna like
you
play
would be
a game
fucking,
to
listen,
like.
And I'm gonna do a whole fucking video on the difficulty of fighting games, but people immediately get discouraged and just say that's not for me. Like,
yeah, I mean, I get that sentiment.
But here's the thing: even if you get that point, the whole point is nobody has that point where they say, "How do you do this?" They normally like they try and feel it out, but then they say like, "Oh, it's probably, you know, this, that, or the other thing is too difficult," and then they just back away from it.
Yeah.
It is very rare and uncommon for me to play with somebody who does not play fighting games normally, who actually tries to learn something, even if it's on the fly, even if you only retain half of it, and that's a big part of like getting better at any capacity, at anything really. But
yeah, naturally. I'm actually, as you were speaking, I was watching the trailer on the Steam page for Street Fighter 6, and this looks like totally different, at least like visually. I will have this installed next week, maybe even tomorrow night, I think, possibly. We'll see. Yeah. But I don't know. I definitely think we could work it into our rotation every weekend because we seem to be on a pretty steady streak of like playing Arc Raiders and then the finals and then whatever else, like depending on who's around.
It depends on
dictate.
It's a large circle of games to play that shrinks depending on who's available that day.
Yeah. So I'm gonna download. I'm gonna install Street Fighter 6 because Harrison bought me both 4 and 6, which you know, very very generous of him.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, for real. So I'll have Street Fighter 6 installed the next time we actually play. But,
excellent.
Yeah, so I mean, like I'm not gonna play a game and like not give a shit how I'm doing in it. You know, like that's just not the type of gamer that I am.
And that sounds common sense to you. You would be surprised at people who do not have that attitude in general about these things.
Yeah, well, but yeah, so that is pretty much what I've been playing this week.
All right.
I think I hit all of it. I still want to go back and play a little bit of Helldivers, but that's kind of like that game doesn't change enough to the point where like I'm like super interested in diving back in every single day.
It almost feels like the kind of game, like, and a lot of live service games kind of feel like this, but like you reach a certain point and then it's like, okay, maybe it's better to let it sit for a while and let content build up so that when you go back to it, it's like a very fresh experience.
Well, with Helldivers, it wasn't even the content; it was the fact that it was hard rebooting my laptop.
That
most
too.
days I played it.
Yeah,
That's
but I'm saying like
big
that
fucking issue.
Yeah, but like we're past that now for the most part. Like they've been doing a lot of fixes. Obviously, it's a slimmer build now. I'm assuming like the major issues that were causing hard crashes are fixed based on what I heard last, anyway. So.
I don't know about like the hard drive issue because that's terrifying, honestly. That and the hard drive or the CPU. I think it was the hard drive. That's terrifying for like that to be a possibility when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
So I haven't touched it in a while. I played it a little bit. I think it was actually this past week. It was like a game or two. Like I really wasn't committed, but just to see like how it was holding up. So I mean, it's still fun. Like it's still Helldivers, but I was grossly out of practice. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing.
Cool.
Okay, so moving on to the news proper. Do you have anything on the smaller side you would like to start with?
Not really. So you can lead us in with whatever you feel is best to be led in with.
Okay, well, one of the bigger things that happened this past week, not even like in my little gaming realm, but just overall in the industry, is all the new updates with Marathon. I'm sure you've seen them in your travels and in our news channel. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is, do you remember that the lawsuit that the former director of Destiny gameplay systems or something like that, his name is Christopher Barrett, was suing Bungie for
This is
200 million?
Yeah, I was gonna say which lawsuit, because honestly, there's been
Yeah, I know.
more. I don't want to say like there's been mountains of them, but enough to make me go, which one? You know?
Yeah, which is bad enough. So the lawsuit was thrown out, and I'm sure you're wondering why that is. Ask me why that is, Anthony.
Why is that, Daniel?
Apparently, this dummy filed the lawsuit in the wrong court. So the court just fucking tossed it, and his $200 million suit is just evaporated in thin air, which is honestly hysterical.
Yeah.
Now, look, I don't know if he did what people were alleging that he did, which I think was like inappropriate sexual conduct, which is bad enough. Like, don't get me wrong, but you don't really know what's true and what's not, and like how severe it was, what the context is. Like, that's all important. Maybe these people just didn't fucking like this guy and decided to go into cahoots or something. Who knows? But he filed the lawsuit in the wrong court, so they just tossed it. I don't know what the process of like refiling is, but like that $200 million is a lot of fucking money, Anthony.
Yeah.
For you to just file it in the wrong court, you didn't have a lawyer look at it first and was like make a recommendation. I don't know. It just seems so preposterously silly to me. So that was a thing. Additionally, with Marathon, Bungie dropped a 22-minute ViDoc for the game itself. Now, this had a lot of information in it. It was a lot longer than their average ViDoc. Their average ViDoc is like anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, so this was almost 50% longer than their normal ViDocs.
Full disclosure, I skimmed it. I did not watch it in its entirety.
Okay. No, that's fair. I honestly assumed that you didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So I'm not like going to go beat for beat because that would just take too long because it was a pretty long video. But I have different thoughts on this. I actually have conflicting feelings on this game now. Number one, the game itself does look a lot better visually and thematically. Now, that's not really saying a whole lot because the bar was basically underground when they revealed it to everybody. So, for me to look at the new gameplay, what am I trying to say? For me to look at the new gameplay in all of its splendor and think to myself, this is actually looking a lot better, it's not saying a whole lot, not in my opinion. The whole like theme of the world is still there, but you could also tell that they stripped out pretty much anything resembling that plagiarized artwork that they got nailed for, like, what was it, a couple months back? So that was probably the first thing that I noticed. That was the first thing I was looking for, to be honest with you, because I wanted to see how deep they were going to go with revamping this whole thing. So, I mean, obviously it's good that they removed all that type of looking stuff out of the game. That being said, the game itself, it looks a lot better, and the only reason why I'm interested in it at this point is because, yes, it's an extraction shooter, and I'm like hooked on Arc Raiders right now. I don't know how sweaty this is supposed to be, so when I watched it, I did get the feeling that this is really going to be catered towards the sweats. And after playing about 60 hours of Arc Raiders, where most of my lobbies are filled with friendly people that are just trying to fight the common enemy that are the Arcs, like, I really enjoy that vibe that Arc Raiders provides. I don't know, like, yeah, I'm always concerned that I'm going to get third-partied somewhere or something, or like get shot in the back, which has happened a handful of times. But the TTK is long enough in Arc Raiders that, like, I will have time to react and plan a next move. And that actually happened to me today. I was going to an extract, somebody shot at me, I ran away, I found the nearest extract, I called it, this motherfucker followed me, the doors to the elevator opened, we both got in, he didn't have a gun, like, he was not holding a weapon, so I figured, okay, he's probably friendly. I even chimed in with my push to talk, and then as I'm calling in the elevator, this motherfucker throws a stun grenade at me. So, you know, chaos kind of ensues for a little bit. We'd run around the elevator like a fucking merry-go-round, and I had like 1 HP left. I caught him with his pants down, and I just fucking I melted him, and then I executed him before he can crawl into the elevator. So he gets nothing, and like I even said out loud to him, like why did you even do that? And then I killed him. Yeah. So like that's always a risk, but the vast majority of the time, like overwhelming majority of the time in Arc Raiders, that does not happen. Especially if you're playing solos. If you're playing solos, and anybody that's listening to this that also plays this game is going to know this already, but it's a very friendly, chill experience. Most people that are playing this game are pretty chill. I don't want to get too
Or
off the point.
skittish as opposed to violent.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get too off, get off on a tangent too much because there is something else that I wanted to talk about with Arc Raiders. But so I mean, this is really coming down to like Marathon versus Arc Raiders, and they're both in the same genre. Even if Bungie isn't quote unquote trying to compete with Embark, they are. Like there's really no getting around that sentiment. Like they're both in the same genre. They both have AI enemies. It's not like Escape from Tarkov where it's only PvP. But I do think that Bungie is pushing Marathon into a more PvP-centric style of play, which I am not in love with, but it also kind of reminds me a little bit of DMZ. And the reason it does is because you have like 6 or 7 different factions. They all give you contracts. And I know Arc Raiders has quests, but I kind of get a different vibe with the contracts because it just seems like there are more of them. At least that's the impression that I got. So I've always liked first person better than third. That's just my preference. I don't have a problem with third person. I just prefer first. So that's another like notch in the pros column for Marathon. All that being said, I still think the overall art style is kind of disgusting. I'm not in love with the with like the neo future Roblox or Minecraft like art style that they got going on. It's very weird.
Simple but like vibrant in a, like I described, like the first time I saw it, I think I said it was garish. Like it was just very, very like messy. Like I mean, you could talk up and down about like, oh, Marathon had an art style to pull from. Marathon is the franchise, the IP. I just don't know, like, is it just like blocky, colorful? Are they just trying to be appealing? Like I don't know exactly what's going on there. I will say that like some of my issues with the first showing that it had, and this could just be me, all of this blending together in my head, is going from the first showing to the second showing. I think the lighting was done differently in such a way that the blinding, vibrant colors blend together a bit nicer. That's really my only takeaway. The lighting is a lot better. Yeah,
the lighting is a lot better. The weather looks a lot better too, like way better. The weather, that is a standout for me. But like going off of the whole theme of the game and the art style, the weapons themselves, and now this is a first-person shooter, so like the weapons are kind of the stars of the show. They just look so uninspired to me. I don't think they look good at all. Like you could say what you want about Arc Raiders, the guns and the overall theme of the game. It is equally as weird, but in a different direction. Although I fucking love the anvil. The Pharaoh grew on me a lot. The Arpeggio is a really solid gun. Every legendary weapon that I used, they all have their own like unique design language to them. But I could say all those things about the weapon and the arsenal in Arc Raiders. I can't say that about Marathon. Like Bungie was bragging about this pistol, this sidearm that they have in the game, where depending on the condition, you get a kill with this pistol and turns you invisible. It's literally the fucking Rat King from Destiny. Like was the exotic perk on that sidearm in Destiny. It's the Rat King. It's like a, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not a cylinder. What shape is it's just a very long rectangle? Like, is that, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
I can kind of see what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's a rectangle on top of a handle, and like that's the gun. And it doesn't look good to me. And here's something else I will say. After watching the ViDoc, I really, really, really wanted to hate this game. I really did. I'm not quite there yet, at least not anymore since after the overhaul. But I'm trying to be objective here. That's why I'm saying this.
No, I appreciate the fact that, despite the fact that, as you say, you wanted to hate this, that you tried to remain as neutral as possible.
Well, I want to hate this game because, I mean, me and every other person who's played Destiny 2 that liked it as much as I did, we all know that Destiny 3 died so that whatever this is could be made. Like that's just a fact.
Okay.
And obviously it hasn't been panning out so well for Bungie. We'll see what happens. Oh, that was another thing. They confirmed a release window, not a date, a window for March of next year.
Okay.
So it's right around the corner. They did not provide a date yet. It's going to be at a $40 price point because there's no fucking way they would ever get away with charging more than that for this game. They have just burnt so much goodwill with the community.
Yeah.
And I've said this in the past several times, but I have never, ever in my, 25 plus years of gaming, I've never seen a studio like that was incapable of making a right decision over and over and over and over again. It's pretty wild. But
Yeah.
just the art plagiarism scandal by itself, it was like the fourth or fifth time they got caught red-handed plagiarizing art, or somebody that worked for Bungie got caught plagiarizing art, which is essentially Bungie doing it because you're a representative of the studio, no matter how you slice it. So it speaks to a couple different things, like the caliber of person that they employ there, the fact that it didn't get past, like it got past so many people, and that's not even that's just the art plagiarism scandal. That's not even to mention all the bugs and the glitches and the exploits that have been hitting Destiny. And I have been sparing you for the vast majority of this, but it's been every week. There's like a new. Sometimes it's legitimately game breaking. Other times it's just like dumb. But the fact remains, like these things are slipping through the cracks consistently.
Yeah.
So I derailed myself. So anyway, the ViDoc, it's looking a lot better. I was actually genuinely surprised to see the overall sentiment online to be more in the positive side of things rather than the negative. But I am still unsold. I am not yet sold. I think that Bungie has a lot to make up for, and depending on how the game itself plays, like I can get over the shitty art style. I really can. I don't like to look at it constantly, but I mean, like we always say, gameplay is king, right? If the game is legitimately a good time, then I can get past most things. The only thing I wouldn't be able to get past is like optimization and performance, because then it's literally unplayable.
Yeah.
Which still remains to be seen, but whatever. And then going back to what I said before, I really wanted to hate this after before watching this long ViDoc. I watched it. I'm like, okay, it looks like it's taking a big step in the right direction. That was like my first thought.
Okay.
So, and then after reading all the comments on several different YouTube videos, I was shocked to see just how much people are praising these updates to this game. And then it's kind of bonkers to me, but that's the world that we live in. I don't think I have any more Marathon news. Oh, the art director left.
Yeah.
The art director resigned like today or yesterday or something, like very, very, very recently. I don't know why, but he's not working at Bungie anymore, which can't be good news for the game, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and one last small thing: they changed their slogan, I guess, from "Escape will make me God," which was fucking retarded to begin with. It is now "Death is the first step," which is so much better. But yeah, man, like I don't know. This is. It's just a very weird situation, and I kind of feel borderline personally slighted by Bungie at this point because they've made again, I've never ever seen a studio that was incapable of making a good decision for such a long period of time. Like I don't know what is happening there, but that is the Marathon news. I'm going to shut up now because we're already 30 minutes into this.
Okay. Well, my only takeaway on the whole ViDoc thing is somebody who has less of a tether to it, right?
Yeah.
My whole thing is like I already mentioned that I think visually, like while they didn't really fix the issues that the art style had, it does look a bit better just from the happenstance of being developed further along the road. I do think, like, I kind of side with a lot of what I've seen a lot of people comment on this, not like, pitchforks raised or like, simping for the company in the game, but just general people looking at it and saying like, oh, looking at the skill sets of a lot of the characters and looking at the way the game handles, did this really need to be an extraction shooter? Could they should have either done straight PvP or they should have done PvE. People are commenting on things like the invisibility, kind of leaning into what you said before, where like you think all the sweats are going to go there, so to speak. I think that's entirely possible. I think a lot of the kit strength in Marathon, from what I've seen so far, kind of caters to that. So I think that's a problem they're going to run into. But don't worry, Dan. It won't be toxic because they're not doing in-game chat. I don't think they've changed. Their stance on that.
No. They have. They
are.
Chat is in the game. I forgot to mention that.
Get the hell out of town!
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on. Pause and back up a little bit. Just the fact that Bungie thought that it was a good idea to not have prox chat to begin with in an extraction shooter is so fucking asinine. It's honestly it's hubris, in my opinion. It's hubris on their part, because they basically said, we don't think you as the population of this game could handle like people being mean online. That's basically what they're saying. And like, I'm sorry, but fuck you. I am an adult. Like I'm the one with the money. You know, I guess I'm just not going to buy your game. But the massive outcry after they said that the game doesn't have proximity chat, they did a complete 180. It is now in the game. But like, that was such a baseline change that they should have had from the beginning. Like, they don't deserve praise for that change. They don't. It's something that should have been there from the get-go.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Now I'm getting angry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, other than I don't have too much to say outside of that. My main takeaway from all the small things I saw, the things I mentioned, the things I didn't, is literally just that the delay was less about like, hey, we're gonna take the time to do some drastic shifts, and more, we're going to develop this quietly so we don't have to deal with the critique of constantly showing you the game. It feels like this delay did nothing except for, like, I guess give them needed development time, but not in a way that course corrects any of the major issues they were confronting. I really just think it was just them going to ground.
Yeah. Well, they needed the delay one way or the other. Like, this game was in such a desperate need for that delay. It's not even funny.
Yeah, but that makes sense too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was in a good state beforehand. I'm just saying, like, I think a lot of people who were somewhat hopeful about the game, if I wanted to word it that way, right? I think they were probably saying like, oh, this is perfect. They're gonna go make some of the changes. They're gonna take the feedback. I'm not sold on that. I am nearly positive that it's just them going quiet so that they could get some of the heat off, and I don't think anything has really course corrected. And it's similar to what you said. Like, you're a little less negative about it, but I don't think you're overwhelmingly like, I guess you could say,
like blazing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not like blown away. You're not satisfied.
No,
it's
not
just
even a little bit. Yeah.
So
it was, but they didn't really change anything. You know, they made the game look better. And they added proximity chat, and they gave us a release date. And they, I guess, maybe fleshed out the item ecosystem a little bit more. Or the item economy, I should say. Like, that is pretty, like, if you really want to boil it down, that's what they did. The game is still the same game. Actually, the one cool thing I will say that they added, like, for the extraction genre overall, was that when you kill somebody and the body falls to the ground, the body itself will decay over time. So if, like, a random person stumbles upon it, they kind of have an idea of when that engagement took place. That's a cool touch.
Yeah, that's a nice small touch. I can appreciate that. Yeah,
nothing to like move the genre forward or anything, but it's a cool little feature.
Polish like that is nice to have.
Yeah, but again, they didn't really change anything. It's still the same original vision for the game. I really don't like the fact that it's a hero shooter light. I think that's a bad idea for an extraction shooter, but that's neither here nor there right now. They made the game look better overall. They added proximity chat, and they gave us a release date. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what's going on in the world of Bungie and Marathon. I guess using this as a transition to talk about Arc Raiders, not going to be long whatsoever. I already talked about them giving everybody a free $10 in in-game currency, which was cool. Yeah. Embark confirmed that Arc Raiders does in fact have aggression-based matchmaking, which was a suspicion for a long time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's good to know, because I will always try diplomacy first, as you have seen. So, the game will take that into account and matchmake you with like-minded players. So that's a
Yeah.
good thing in my
I
opinion.
mean, I heard that, and my first reaction, honestly, is that it's already crossing the line as far as interference,
Okay.
And you either got to do completely neutral with no thumbs on the scale, or just not do anything. I do think that with this confirmation, they may as well just do no PvP lobbies.
Perhaps.
And the reason I say that, the reason I say just open, just do no PvP lobbies, is because like we talked a lot about we talked a lot about the different kind of the kind of culture that the game breeds, just from like how people, you're kind of reliant on trusting strangers, and I said earlier that people are going to walk away from this game with trust issues because of how it's handled, and all these different things, and I just gotta say, like, the novelty of that, it can only be carried by a completely neutral playing ground. Like, the second you start introducing matchmaking of that kind, I'm not saying it's a bad system, I'm just saying your priorities now need to change. Like, you need to be willing to
I don't think they have the thumb on the scale that much, because I still run into, I would say, at minimum, one needlessly aggressive player per lobby of Arc that I'm in. So
like,
I don't know.
My whole thing, like I said, I do think that if we're going to flip the script, and it's no longer like, oh, it's the name of the game, the name of the genre, it's just elements like that, it is what it is. But now it turns out there is a matchmaking tool in the background. They may as well just say, just start opening up all the other doors to this stuff, because it's basically, you're just gonna have everybody kind of waiting for the lifeboat to carry them off, and then they're just gonna get angry that the matchmaking isn't working, and placing them with people that they can't, they don't have to worry about. Because I mean, we talked about it the other day, there are different types of streamers out there that they see this kind of environment, and they basically just make it their effort to not play the game, but instead to, I don't want to say bully, because that's kind of retarded, but like, I mean, like, specifically, like, they're out there to hunt other players, like they're out there for ruining other people's days. And I don't want to sound like I'm like you can't hurt other people's feelings. I'm just saying, like, these people are legitimately mean-spirited, and that's why they play these games. I'm just saying, like, if you went from having like a completely natural open environment to a broken system, as much as I believe that this kind of thing is like a smart balancing thing, it's just you're officially like not, I don't know, it's weird to me. It may seem like overly purist, but the gist of what I'm saying is, if you're willing to have the matchmaking tools working underneath to basically say, like, okay, you're too violent, you're not violent at all, you mix and match, and it's just slow and it's a slog and it's not actually helping people, you may as well just do no PvP lobbies.
I think that's a bit of an extreme view. Again, I don't know how much weight they're putting on that thumb on that scale, but as somebody who does play it a lot, I like the fact that I am being matched with people that are less inclined to just shoot me on sight. I understand where you're coming from, but PvE only lobbies, I think, are a terrible idea. There's no stakes.
I think no, don't get it twisted. I think it's a terrible idea too. And just to be clear, like, me and you, when we play, we like, I'm not sitting here going, God, just get me out of the PvP already. We it happens. We sometimes bump into players. Sometimes we lose. Yeah, exactly. Like, I know what the game is about, but what I'm basically saying is, like, I'm playing by the rules set out there. I'm willing to set, like, I understand the novelty of it. We've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, because it is, throughout the honeymoon period and whatnot, where we talked about it. And my like I said, my takeaway on this is a purist standpoint, where it's like, we all went in acknowledging that, like, the highs and lows we're gonna take, because that's just the way the genre is and the experience that they set up is. Now that we know that there is, and I said it, you said it again, the term thumb on the scale, I don't know what it is, but if we're at that point already, or if you already had that set up where it's like you're willing to put weight on this, it may seem like a small thing, but like, I just think for the overall health of the game long term, you either need to be hands off, or you need to just go all in. That's my take on it.
Let me ask you this, because skill-based matchmaking has been in the ether as far as like a topic of conversation for a very long time now as well. So I mean, we play a bunch of competitive shooters together. We have for years between COD and the finals now, and maybe some Counter Strike here or there, or whatever have you. Um, you know, there is an MMR rating for every player in pretty much every online game nowadays,
Yep.
and skill-based matchmaking is a thing. We all know it. Um, why? So you have this opinion for the aggression-based matchmaking for this game, but I know you in particular don't give much credence to the skill-based matchmaking as like the boogeyman for why you might be doing so terrible in any given match, right?
Yes.
Like, even if it
So
might be proven like in patents and shit that these studios do have very complex systems in place to put you against other players that are extremely similar to your own skill level, even though you just want to go in and like have a good time, right? Like, do you see where I'm going with this?
yeah, so to kind of go to that again, just because obviously this is a very similar concept. You're right in bringing it up. My take is essentially twofold on this. The reason, like, my opinion on both is kind of the same. Where, like, when talking about skill-based matchmaking, my opinion is very much that you should not have it at all, or you should have things in place where you can get around it or not use it. Right. My opinion on
Okay.
skill-based matchmaking, that as far as that is concerned, that's how it goes with that. I think we talked about this once. I forget when exactly we talked about it. So if I repeat myself, forgive me. It's the same opinion. Is that what you said in describing how I talk about it is accurate, where I say, like, I don't give much credence to it. I call it a boogeyman quite frequently. And the reason you've heard me say that so often is because we have dealt with playing with a lot of people over the last 5 to 6 years, or
Yeah.
even beyond that, because when Halo 3 was still relatively new, I had people bitching about MMR in general. But my point is, every single negative happenstance would get blamed on that, and that's just not the case. That's where that disconnect
Right.
kind of comes
And I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah, my opinions on the systems between the two is the same: is either don't have it or have other options around it. The reason I'm less stern on the skill-based matchmaking stuff is because we don't really play anything at this point with skill-based matchmaking in it, and when we did play it, there were other options within the game to go to, if that makes sense. Like, if they have different matchmaking stuff going on with with Arc Raiders, I almost said the finals, in Arc Raiders, eventually that's just the one mode I can play is being affected by something that was initially sold to me as not existing. They just wanted to open, whatever happens, compared to a situation where it's just like, if I was playing the latest Call of Duty, there's different modes for me to play. I can go do something else. We'd be jumping between Warzone and multiplayer at the time, where, like, the systems weren't constantly bogged down. And even if we just look at the competitive multiplayer side of things in a Call of Duty, where the skill-based matchmaking, the scale and pacing is so different that it doesn't affect the same way as it would in Arc Raiders. Like, Arc Raiders is just like, was it 30 minutes max for a mission?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so, like, 15 to 30 minutes depending on whether you get there as the match starts or not. And it's potentially affected, and you could lose everything based on the fact that, the matchmaking hasn't removed you from the proper pool when you were promised, like, a completely random thing to begin with, versus a Call of Duty where it's just like, okay, occasionally you'll get, like, that, like, we need to curb you back down match, which you could really leave if you wanted to. Like, it's hard to really, like, I don't have the chart with me, but
Yeah, it's hard to quantify.
Yeah, it comes down to pacing, not in the game itself, but as us as players playing it, and the scale of content and the stakes.
Yeah.
I would, like,
That's
I
a
never
very nuanced subject.
Yeah, like, the closest, like, missing link I can kind of give you is that if skill-based matchmaking was noticeable at all in Warzone, to me it just never was. It was never to me. I'm sure it's active in there. I never noticed it. If I had to compare it, like, I would feel more stern in the way that I do towards Arc Raiders aggression-based matchmaking to a Warzone skill-based matchmaking, if that makes any sense. It gets messy, but the point of it is, with Call of Duty, like, if there's a thumb on the scale, it comes off very quickly because of how quickly you're going through matches. And at the end of the day, I don't want the thumb on the scale in either game. And the reason I say they may as well just, give, and the thing that's exclusive to ARC Raiders, the reason I say they may as well just do no PvP lobbies is because the contract, the social contract, so to speak, that we all signed was it's random, shit happens in extraction shooters, have at it, but now there is like a filtering process that makes things unfair. And in the long run, like, let's say me and you play it more than me, obviously, right? Factor in the fact that I'm playing it mainly when I'm playing it with you, right? Occasionally I'll go in and do a mission by myself. Now, what ends up happening, me and you get to that battlefield now, on the weekend, we're doing a mission, we do our things, and like I said, our luck's been pretty good, but at that point, if there is an aggression-based matchmaking, all the less aggressive players are now being matched with each other while we're still down here. They've been lifted from our pool, and that changes that thing. And that might seem like nitpicking and talking about, like, oh, all the possibilities in the universe with who you end up with, but I don't like that background element, It's just...
Yeah, no, I gotcha. And again, it's extremely nuanced, very messy.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I might be just splitting hairs for no fucking reason. I'm just saying it irks me that the social contract, so to speak, was violated in that way. Not enough to make me flip a table and, like, break my digital copy of ARC Raiders in half over my knee or anything like that, but that's my take on the situation. Is I think that now more than ever, they need to start considering... going a step further or talking about those extra modes that I've been talking about, But,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. All right, well, that's enough about ARC. Very, very small thing. World War Z is getting a Walking Dead crossover. I'm honestly flabbergasted that it took them this long to do that. And I'm also shocked that this game is still getting consistent content updates. Like,
well,
that's...
it fills a niche.
Very old.
It's like a survival. Does. It's kind of like got a Left 4 Dead thing going on where it's like repeatable campaigns, right? Am I remembering that correctly? So it's like a third-person, unique survival Left 4 Dead kind of thing. It's a neglected area, So
yeah, people love that genre. I mean, look at me in Darktide. I fucking love Darktide, and it's I mean, Fat Shark even went on record and said like nobody was doing like a first-person Left 4 Dead style game, so we made it, but with Warhammer, and that's why I love it. So yeah, I mean it's a market. It's largely an untapped one. There's only there's Left 4 Dead, there's Darktide, there's World War Z. I honestly am hard pressed to come up with a fourth.
Yeah, there's it's a formula that like, I mean, it's very intimidating because Valve really nailed it when they made Left 4 Dead. There's a lot I can say about Left 4 Dead 2 and the scummy practices of the time when it came to sequel versus expansion. Whole other conversation, but the point is they nailed the formula. We were talking about nuance before. The nuance, the small things, like Dan. I don't know. We've never really talked about. I don't know how much you've looked into like how the back end stuff works in Left 4 Dead.
No, not even.
It is magic to me, like all the little cues and how they judge.
Well, I know the director is like a huge part of every single run.
Yes.
I don't know how it works. I just know what it does.
If you're ever feeling bored one day and you just need something to listen to, either look up some kind of video or just go through the game with the commentary turned on and listen to some of the shit. It's great. I love shit like that. But the long and short of it is that the takeaway is that it's very intimidating. I don't put it past anybody. Everybody who's ever said, "Oh, I worked on Left 4 Dead, I'm going to make a game," has failed at it or will fail at it. I don't envy trying to break into that space, but it is a space that people like.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, most Saber games that have a largely PvE component do this. Like Space Marine 2 is the same way. The operation just the same set of missions that you rerun over and over again. You can crank up the difficulty. There are different modifiers on it and whatnot. I'm pretty sure. No, I know for a fact that their Swarm engine has a director. It's the same engine that made World War Z. So it's the same concept. So I mean, people like it, myself included. All right, moving on from there. Let's see, what do we got? There's a big philosophical conversation to have around this whole Larian AI fiasco that's been going on.
Yeah, so
I'll hand you. I know what this is about, and I've seen the video, and I know about it, but I'll still let you handle it. This seems like it's way more in your wheelhouse than it is mine.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it says. I mean, it's the talk of town. Everybody knows about it at this point. It's the Larian CEO. What's his name? Do you remember his name? It's one of those foreign names I can't pronounce.
Pjelnik, Sven
something
like that.
something like that.
Okay, I'll find it.
Yeah, look it up. But he essentially confirmed that the studio was using generative AI to.
It's Sven Vicky.
Okay,
Vinke.
something Vinke or something like. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. The studio is using generative AI to quote explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, and develop concept art and write placeholder text. And he went on to say that there wouldn't be any generated content in Divinity. Every it's going to be human actors. We're all writing everything by ourselves. And you said philosophical. I say it's an interesting moment where he's ripping the Band-Aid off.
Philosophical. I mean, I use that kind of loosely because when you get into like human created artwork versus machine created artwork, I'm pretty sure 99% of people are going to have the same opinion as far as like what they would like to experience in any one of their mediums, not even video games. But I say philosophical because like at what extent is the use of AI, at what extent does that become not immoral, but I honestly don't know the adjective I'm looking for here.
Okay. Well, maybe as we go about it, you'll be able to find out more. You'll be able to formulate that a bit better. But like I called it a ripping the Band-Aid off moment because it's a conversation that everyone just dances around and they only really address it when it comes up directly and it's in their face. Yeah. And it's interesting because this is just a week after I said they're in the position where they can do no wrong. They were in the CD Projekt Red position where they had a very good leading up to this. And the first thing is it's really, again, just a stupid collision of two groups because you have the ones that think any amount of use of this new tool is an evil betrayal that should be burned to the ground. And on the other side, you have the ones that think AI is not only a replacement for most parts of the process, but should be involved in the direction of where media goes. And I think that's equally as stupid.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like games are such a work of art that you can really tell if any one part of a game was generated by an AI. Take the voice actors for the finals, right?
Yeah.
While those are real voice actors, they just said words into a microphone, and the devs plug them into an AI model, and they come up with the lines that they come up with. And you could tell when you're playing the game. You really can.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's going to get better, but AI does... One of the things when it comes to audio is AI does struggle a lot with inflection. Yeah. You would either need to sit there and train it to the same degree that you may as well just keep the actors in the studio or pay to have them come out each time you need new audio, or you would need a different process altogether. But
the other example I was going to give was all the artwork for COD recently. The vast majority of it, maybe all of it, is AI generated. Like the loading screens, title cards, emblems.
There's a lot of it that's noticeable.
Yeah.
Different styles have different triggers that you can see. I would say anime styled AI images have because it's I don't want to get too far off track, but how all these different language learning models absorb this data, learn it, and filter it is completely determined by root learning sets and also the kind of stuff that people are generating. So different styles across different machine models will have these different quirks in lighting or hairstyle or the way that light hits the eyes that make it even if you don't notice that it's AI, you'll have that reaction to it where it feels samey because we're still in that position where sure, you don't have a million artists sitting in a room drawing things until you get things right. Now you have a couple thousand people sitting in a room AI generating, or just one guy doing a first pass and being done with it. But basically, what I was getting at is with moments like this, we're going to keep having them until hard lines are drawn, where these two groups of people are just going to keep bashing their heads together, and it is exacerbated by the fact that everybody is. I think I said this to you before. Everyone has the faucet turned fully on all fronts because they want to get the most out of this new technology, especially in the bigger corporations. I'm going to put my position out there again, Dan, like I have multiple times.
Yep.
Creators and creatives should be able to focus on bringing visions to life with tools that help them scrap busy work and unnecessary hurdles. Finalizing and optimizing the coding and programming process should be quicker, easier, and more efficient, and it should also encourage studios to dip back into using in-house engines. Voice work we just talked about, where I said, like, you said, you can really tell with that. My middle ground is that you should have the voice actors come in, do a shit ton of work once, and then help build the models so that when they do incremental stuff, like we were just playing not Arc Raiders, I got mixed up again. We were just playing the finals, and now all the voice lines are holiday themed. Like, they're all shouting the same way and inflecting the same way, but now they're doing, like, here's a gift for you instead of, like, here's a present for you, which I think was the normal line, which is pretty funny. It's, it works either way. They should be able, I think there's something to investigate there, doing strong initial performance building and then adding more stuff over time as new content comes out. And apparently certain union groups are actually working towards that and handling deals, so we'll see where it goes with that. Like, but that's how you inch towards a middle ground, I mentioned translating is already, with current tools, very, very good. Localization should already not exist, but I repeat myself. There's a lot of different things out there. Like, my biggest thing is, like, if you're doing a sketch, you should have a tool at the ready that can either steady your lines or do work around you or do faint effects or stuff like that. If I hum a tune, it should be able to, we should have tools available that it can transpose what I'm humming into, like, a score sheet, so that I can just, use that score sheet in a digital workstation in order to create music. It's like stuff like that is what we should be focusing on. But instead, everyone's like, just generate this, just generate that. And don't get me wrong, the corporations are to blame near the top. But anyway, we are constantly going to be seeing arguments over the big stuff and the moral quandaries of all this, and I'm just sitting here wondering, what did we miss? Because all the things I harp about that we should have, they're not happening. Content coming out for existing games is still, like, dog shit slow and still very expensive, despite the fact that it's integrated in there. And at the same time, the people who are already doing it behind the scenes are telling me I should worry about whole games being made with AI and job markets collapsing when they're already inching in. Because this guy, when he came out and he said his piece, a bunch of other people said, like, yeah, we're already doing it anyway. And I'm just like, I don't have a problem if people implement these tools. I just don't trust at all that they're being implemented in a way, because it's all top-down pushing. The Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, he's just said last week or this week, he said something along the lines of, like, every single executive needs to start talking about how they're putting it in there. Like, you mentioned something a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
They try to integrate AI in every single level of their workflow.
Yes, and since then, now he's saying every executive in the company needs to be doing this, or they need to be ready to step aside. Corporate overreach is used. This is just another example of massive corporate overreach, where they're saying, so how you implement, it's like the bullshit HR meetings where you sit down and you talk to them about nonsense. Now you got to talk to them about how you're implementing AI. And I gave you a bunch of, like, examples as to where you could implement it, and I do just think that, we have all these small areas we're not investigating because we want to just immediately start pumping out big packages of content with AI. And I really just think that we're missing something. And like, I'll give you an example of something that should, like, if AI was nearly as effective, user-friendly, or easy to do on an individual level, we should already have already at our disposal. I'll give you a little example as a little aside, but it'll hit home eventually. Just bear with me. I do a lot of video editing, right?
Yes.
Sole editor of 99.99 videos on the channel. That 0.01% is when you were taking the reins at the very beginning, and some of the videos that you did early on. But everything else is either a direct live stream or edited by me, right? And I'll be honest, Dan, I enjoy it for the most part. Maybe it's because maybe it's from the handful of times I worked with my grandfather in his store. Maybe it's just something I stumbled into liking. Maybe I'm just going through. I like going through what I see as home movies and passion projects. It's possible it's Stockholm syndrome. Who the fuck knows, right? I enjoy it. I like improving the process so it's quicker, learning more, and troubleshooting. It can be a lot with the amount of recorded footage we've done throughout the years, but it's something I like doing. And you know what the most frustrating thing is to me in the process of editing? Editing, not recording. If you had to take a guess, I'll give you one guess.
Of editing and not recording?
Yes.
Trying to cut out, like, I don't know, something that shouldn't be in there, maybe.
No, I file that into the recording process. And the answer is audio mixing. If you were to watch every video on the channel in chronological order, you will see a steady evolution. You will see a steady evolution across the years. The background noise gets fainter and fainter until it's gone. Videos with multiple voices start getting tuned so that they're at similar levels. Filters start getting applied so that, you know, there's just things get better overall, right? There's still minimal issues. There's videos where these issues kind of persist. And while they still happen, they're rarer, I would say, overall. I've played with the process over time. I've changed my own personal hardware multiple times. I've separated recordings into as many tracks as possible so I can do more editing in post. I've tweaked properties every which way I can, but it's tough. You jump between multiple microphones. Lucas changed hardware multiple times. Harrison's microphone has some kind of mental disorder where it likes to change on a whim between normal and way too loud. I have worked with each of you on software solutions that have absolutely been either uninstalled, neglected, or just jostled throughout the years. And all this basically means is that without a completely controlled environment, which is always in flux because of the casual nature of our recordings, where we just, you know, we're playing. Okay, let me hit the recording so I can turn it into something, right? I will always be fighting this fight, essentially, right? I'm
sorry, I'm a strain on the process.
No, don't take it that way. But why I'm mentioning all this is the fact that there is no current tool where I can look at a recording session or record a script and say, normalize all the audio to this level, keep max peaks at this level, keep lowest audio no lower than this level, and have an editable piece where all I need to worry about is pacing and visual adjustments and shit. Pisses me off when we have people out there, because you know what does exist. You have people that'll go out to one of these LLMs. They'll go to Grok or ChatGPT or any of them, and they'll have it generate a script. Sometimes they'll just paste an existing video into it and have it rip the transcript from that and then make minor adjustments to it. And then they'll go to another LLM, a voice LLM, and they'll say, going with this. And they'll say, read this. And so that's the kind. Do you see where I'm going with this, right? Yeah. We have all these tools to cheaply churn shit out, but we're not focusing on empowering. I hesitate to say creator because I'm just talking about fucking video editing, but like, I mean, all this shit I've been talking about since we've been talking about AI. I mentioned some fucking Nirvana however many episodes ago where I'm just like, imagine sitting down and having, minimal knowledge and growing knowledge, because, one of the key things is you would be growing into the base skills of this as you work with it. But along the way, you have a helping hand. My best buddy in the whole wide world, Hideo Kojima, called it a friend. AI should be a friend helping you. But we have this situation now where what kicked all this off is like, we're talking about concept art being made by AI. That seems like that's no. Like, you can help. Yeah, it seems like a complete waste. Concept art should be one of the purest forms available. Like, it's one thing to say, like, okay, I have a pitch, I don't know how to draw, here it is. The concept art is like, okay, here's a little guideline from the AI thing I had to draw up. I'm going to describe to you and walk you through this because this is not what I had in my mind, right? But instead, we're talking about just generating concept art wholesale with AI, and that trickles upward, and I don't like that. And basically, you said philosophical, talking about, the human creating process. I am all for humans taking the lead, as they always should, and then having tools that get rid of all the fucking busy work, which is, funnily enough, what all these people say, oh, we're just getting rid of busy work and all that kind of stuff. And then you find out, no, that's not what they're doing. They're basically brute forcing all these different things in the process, and that's nuts to me. So I guess that's all I had as far as a long-winded rant, but I don't know if you had anything to say now that I've ranted, if you formulated your thoughts.
I mean, I kind of align pretty much with you on this. I mean, first of all, AI has been used in game development for a long time already. So just because one guy says the quiet part out loud for something that will never make it into a game, albeit the actual thing that the AI might be working on seems like it's nonsensical, where you can have actual concept artists drafted up and have the AI work on something else that would cut down on dev time that would also never make it into the game. That's a different conversation. But like you said, if a creative wants to use a tool at their disposal for X, Y, and Z thing to not do a menial task, I don't see a problem with that. I only see a problem when that thing actually makes it into the final product, because at that point, like, now you're really fucking with what is quote unquote art and what is not, and what is just an artificial thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think we're going to be pretty aligned on this. It's really just a matter of, humans take the lead.
As a human being, you can tell when something like just doesn't look quite right, or doesn't sound quite right, or doesn't feel quite like, you could tell like pretty instantaneously.
And guess what? If you manage to work with the AI to make something, like right now we're at the point where it's just like, you'll have somebody say like, oh, generate me this, and it won't be exactly what you had in mind because you're just saying generate me this, and so you'll have that person sit there and hit generate this over and over and over and over and over again until he gets something reasonable. I want tools where that guy, even with the most basic, like drawing stick figures, can work towards getting something he wants better out of it. And I think that would just be better for everybody if we had these tools that, again, cut down on the busy work and also guide untrained hands. Hopefully, in the hopes that they, in the process of being untrained, they learn a little bit more and like everybody improves. It's just disappointing to me because like my whole thing is like, you mentioned this is more my wheelhouse than yours. I won't claim to be an expert, but I do have my ear to the ground and my eyes on this situation just because I find these new tools interesting. And my whole thing is they're not nearly as sophisticated as what people make them out to be. I will say that there are likely models that are just not available to the public that are way more sophisticated but still aren't amazing. But it's just like there's already a great deal of hand-holding that you need to do when using these machines. There's a few with really cool concepts that try different angles, but right now it is really just a bunch of like, hey, give me this. And because of the nature of this, it's like, you're checking you're essentially trying to prop up the AI as like a worker for yourself because you don't know how to do a certain thing, right?
Yeah.
And then that worker is not going to necessarily know what's going on. People like to call it like schizophrenia, or the AI hallucinates. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to be able to catch this, which is why I'm sure you've heard plenty of stories like Windows 11 is going through a bunch of different nightmarish updates. And it's because they're doing a lot of coding with AI and it's causing nightmares in the development process. Yeah, it's
actually kind of crazy, like how accurate Halo got that.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you've ever like, and you really should, like, I limit how much I use AI just because I do think it fucks with your thought process of problem solving and troubleshooting.
Yeah, 100,
you should,
absolutely.
yeah. If you there will be situations where it's just like, let's say you remember something like a story or something that you heard, or like news or something, and you go like, hey, tell me about this, right? And then it'll tell you something that's wrong, and then you'll be like, okay, so it doesn't know what the fuck it's talking about, and then you go find the actual story and you say like, well, actually this is the case, and it'll just go, oh, my bad, yeah, you're right. And I'm just like, that's a problem, because like if I didn't know what the fuck, and it's just like, so it can't generate art perfectly to the point where you would need to hire people just to brute force the art. It can't do. There's a weird thing with music, like you played around with music AI a little bit, where you did like
it was like shockingly impressive as far as like what it came up with on its own, just based off of like the small amount of prompts that I gave it.
One thing I will tell you is if you listen or play around with those tools long enough, you'll notice that like it almost invents a new instrument, because like certain pitches of horns and guitars it can't differentiate between the two. So like if you're listening to like there's actually a couple channels out there, this is really clever, they do like city punk funk remixes of different video game soundtracks, right?
I mean they do the same thing with like I've actually been listening to like a lot of different hip hop and like very famous rap songs, but are just put to like 1960s blues or soul or something, and just because of how the lyrics are, they sound fucking incredible.
Yes.
But like you can also kind of tell that the voices aren't real people.
Yes. And in the genres that I was kind of talking about, like funk and like the kind of like popish, like, you know, 90s pop and that kind of stuff, the reason those are so much more popular is because the AI failing in generating that kind of thing just leads to an instrument that excels in that genre. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I'm just saying is this is all just to say is that these tools are not perfect. They still need a lot of guidance. We're not at the point where we should be. I don't think we should ever be at the point where concept art raw from AI is used. I think that raises a lot of ethical concerns, and it's just something like, I'm not going to go around and police people. I will wag my finger a little bit from the sidelines, but I'm never going to like hound people about it. I would take issue with that because, like, unless we finally get like the AI, like, I prompt it just right, or like I'm able to guide it the right way. And it's like, oh yeah, that is exactly what I had in mind, actually. Like, I don't think that we should really be fucking around with that. And there's also reports that like artists have mentioned like, oh, you know, generative AI hurts us, and you know, you got to raise your eyebrow a bit at that because they're worried about their jobs too. But it's just like, if you're an aspiring artist or a modeler and in the pipeline there's something that's not anatomically correct, or there's something that just does not align with the style that the team has set out beforehand, it raises all these kinds of issues where it's just like, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where you get jammed up trying to correct the tool, you know? So it's you know, until this bubble bursts, or until, you know, if we manage to keep brute forcing it all the way through the next like plateau of improvement for these machines, because we've been on a plateau for a bit, I would say. I think that you're just going to see the arguments continue on a little bit, and you're going to see more issues in AAA games that are either openly or not openly using this technology that way.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and I mean, we're only in the infancy of it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be. I one of the bright sides of having this situation right now, where it's like everybody's arguing about it, is you would much rather have the argument now in the gold rush era, the infancy of this technology, than when things are really sophisticated, because that's how things get messy very quickly. So I think it's good we as a society are confronting this now when the capabilities are lessened, so that when the improvements come, we've already kind of, I don't want to say stabilized, because turbulent stuff can happen, but it's, you know, I would much rather all of us go through this, you know, put our lines in the sand as far as what we're comfortable with, and kind of, just kind of determine the morals around it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow, I was long-winded.
Yeah.
Well, now for something completely different.
Go for it.
Naughty Dog is apparently in all these fucking pop-ups. Holy shit! They are ordering basically mandatory overtime for the Intergalactic playable demo. That is, when was the deadline? I can't tell because this website has ads popping up left and right. I need to pay for unlimited access. Yeah, no, thank you. Anyway, moral of the story is that Naughty Dog is implementing mandatory overtime to get the Intergalactic demo out the door. I don't know what the timeline for this is, but for a demo, that seems like it's a bit much, which only screams that the game is nowhere near ready.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like, I have no faith in Naughty Dog in general. I think that, you know, just it goes back to one of the earliest things we talk about, is just like, as working conditions get worse, right? I mean, talent bleed in the background just carries on, you know?
It's not going to stop.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, they can flaunt like the sales numbers of like previous projects, like however they want. That's always something that irks me, is like, oh, but have you considered how much game sells? And I'm just like, yeah, I consider how much game sells, but I'm more concerned about the final product and the team behind it and what's happening behind the scenes. And Naughty Dog is one of those companies that's like, they almost want to inch towards Rockstar, where they just do massive games like once every 7 years or something, and like, that's not good for anybody, really. But like, I don't really know who Intergalactic's even for. This is just like a vanity project
for all the people who love The Last of Us 2. That's who it's for.
Not even. I don't think this is literally not for anybody. This is just right out of Druckmann's ass. You know, he's just making his own fucking thing, and I don't. he seems full of himself because of the reception. Like he's riding really on the reception of the first Last of Us, because like the sequel and the show has been very divisive. I'm sure you'll have a bunch of people like fawning over it, and who knows when they eventually do show gameplay what it's going to look like. But I mean, Crunch. The funny thing about Crunch is I'm not like one of those guys that like weeps over Crunch, but I do find it funny that Naughty Dog is once again directly on their next project getting those accusations and getting in hot water over that.
I know, it's ironic, right?
Yeah.
That was, I mean, it was nothing about nothing, because it's for a demo. It's not like these people being worked to the bone to just get the game out the door, which they're going to be. So there's that. What did you posted something? Hogwarts Legacy sells 40 million copies. To which I replied, "Great! Now announce the sequel."
I think isn't the sequel in a situation where it's kind of soft confirmed, like it's like an earner's report has confirmed that it's in development or something?
Yeah.
My whole thing. The reason I posted that is like, number one, it's insanely refreshing to just get more sales numbers up front, and they don't dance around it with players.
Well, the only reason that they told you is because it's so successful.
Yeah, that too. But I'm just like, in general, like my whole thing. I find the Hogwarts Legacy stuff very funny, because what I typically say is like it's just a lot of hubbub over a game that's like kind of okay. It's good. Yeah, it's better. It's better
if you competent open world game. Yeah. Like it's great. It's probably the best Harry Potter game that's been made, but it's not really saying a whole lot, because not a whole lot of Harry Potter games have been made.
Yeah.
But for like an open world game about magic and that happens to take place in the Harry Potter universe, yeah, it's a good game, but it's not anything better than good.
I do think there's a few issues it has, and I do think it kind of trips on a lot of the hurdles that those open world types go, where I think like there's a lot of background grinding for resources, for upgrades and stuff like that, and that's not fun. It's funny whenever Harry Potter comes up, because it's very contentious because of the person that J.K. Rowling is. Like a lot of people just want to disown her, and a lot of people want a lot worse for her because of her issue on gender and stuff like that, or her comments on that. And I don't know if you know this, Dan, but there was a boycott for Hogwarts Legacy.
I heard about that. Was back when it came out, right?
Yep. And don't get me like,
here we are now, 40 million units moved. Fuck you.
I've never seen a boycott fail like so spectacularly. But my whole like, I laugh about it now because those people are rather pathetic. But like, they threatened a lot of people and they bullied a lot of people, so it is kind of disgusting. These people with no souls, like they're just very vacuous people, and it's all over this book franchise and this movie franchise, this multimedia franchise that they love, to the point that it causes their soul so much agony that the creator disagrees with them. And I don't know, I think it's wild to see how far it's come since then, and it's all this noise over what can best be described as a serviceable open world RPG with a few hang-ups. I think my biggest problem with the Hogwarts Legacy game, just because we haven't really talked about it all that much, is there's not a whole lot of soul in it, you know?
Yep.
Like it feels very, very safe. Like if you told me
it is,
it almost feels like I played. I couldn't get through it fully, but I played like a good chunk of it. I played it with.
I played through it from beginning to end, and you are spot on. Like nothing about the game was spectacular, except for maybe the fact that they let you fly around the castle, which was cool in its own right, but it also wasn't like revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination either. So,
the best way to compare it is obviously to the books and the films, where it's just like you can feel like it's a living, breathing environment. This, like, especially in the films are just so beautiful. And like you can see like a lot of character and charm, both in the actual characters walking around, but like the world around it. And it just felt like none of that carried over to Hogwarts Legacy. It feels like, how
it was all very cookie cutter.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, and the comparison I'm getting at is, I remember when Star Wars Outlaws was announced, and I basically described it as like a very safe, on the rails.
Oh my god! I downloaded the demo to Star Wars Outlaws like a couple days ago. I got 10 minutes into it. I'm like, nope, can't do this.
It's literally like, obviously Hogwarts Legacy is the better game between the two, but what I'm getting at is that same spirit of being incredibly safe and bland to its detriment is there in Hogwarts. It prevails because people love that franchise. I do think it doesn't have that that Ubisoft failure charm or whatever you want to call it, where it's just like it's a mess on top of being safe. So I can't say I'm particularly stoked. I'm not cheering them on like, yeah, let's go. But it's just the numbers struck me. That's massive numbers for a game in general. I hope that they make improvements in a sequel that makes it a bit more magical, because I look back, you said it's probably the best Harry Potter game. I would argue with you on that a little bit, just because I do think there are other games, especially early on, primarily for the reasons that I mentioned, where it's just like the environments feel warmer. They have a lot of those early ones have Jeremy Soule composing, who, if you don't know, he did the Elder Scrolls games. He
Heavy hitters.
Yeah, he did, but not just heavy hitter. He does like wonder and magical realms. Not saying that Elder Scrolls is purely magic or warm like a Harry Potter, but I'm just saying like the music and the style and everything just feel like if you mixed Hogwarts Legacy and like the PlayStation 1 Sorcerer's Stone game and you mashed them together, you would probably have something fucking amazing. But the thing is, like, aside from the fact that they won't learn anything because it's sold 40 million, I don't think the company is in a position to unleash that kind of soulful, like a human made this, feeling kind of thing. So, but yeah, 40 million, that's massive. That's massive.
Yeah, a lot of copies. Because this was a game that reached outside of the core gaming audience. I think that's why it sold so well.
Yeah, very few games are capable of doing that.
Yeah. So all right, let's see. Moving on. I have two things left to talk about. I'm gonna save one of them for next week because it's too beefy to really dive into at this point in the show right now.
Fine by me.
Yeah, but the other thing was So like a while back, I'm sure you remember, Sony sued Tencent for that blatant ripoff of Horizon.
Horizon, yeah.
Yeah, so they settled finally.
Yep.
They settled out of court. Let's see. Sony and Tencent have reached a confidential settlement, and Light of Motoram is no longer listed on Steam or on the Epic Game Store. Sony called it a slavish clone of Horizon, which it was a blatant ripoff. And it just, I don't know, like, I'm not in love with either of these companies. I would say I like Sony a little bit more than Tencent. So it just to like see the outcome of something that I already knew how it was gonna end. I just found it funny. That's all. That nothing really more to talk about there.
That's fair.
Yeah. The other thing, to give you a little teaser for next week, is about the overall how do I word this? Like video game market share overall, especially for this past holiday season, because it is not looking great. But we will go into that next week, because it's just there is too much information in that article to really sink our teeth into.
It's going to be a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah, that might be like half of the show next week. So depending on what else we have to talk about.
That's one hell of a way to end the year,
I know. Yeah. Actually, it's a great point. So that's a better reason why I saved that. Do you have anything on the smaller side to throw out there?
Nothing that can be fit in here. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is really about it. We're almost an hour and a half in. I don't want to start talking about something and we go off like another 30 minutes. I just don't have that kind of time.
Exactly.
So, well, I guess that is about as good a place as any to wrap it up. This was episode 85 of the Pregame Network podcast. If you're still listening, thank you very much. And we'll be back next week to talk about how bad the video game industry is doing monetarily.
Yeah, we're going to close out the year big time. And in between that, we will have our end-of-year show as well.
Yep. Yes, sir. That's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
Very exciting stuff.
So with that being said, thanks for listening, and we'll catch everybody next week.
Bye-bye.